All right, welcome back to Hell with the Podcast. We're at episode 7. 7 episodes already in. And if you're not aware of what we do, this is where we dig into the music of Stryper, Michael Sweet, Robert Sweet, Oz Fox, Perry Richardson in the new era, Timothy Gaines in the old era. But I am also joined. My name's Tim. I'm also joined by my co-host Daryl. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. I got to catch an early flight tomorrow, but hey, this is always fun for me. So whenever I get a chance to do this with you, then hey, I'm down. I don't care how little sleep I get because it's going to be one of those nights. I got to be in a car at 4:45 tomorrow.
Bless you, man. Bless you. I mean, those are the worst. Early morning flights. I never sleep good the night before because I'm always worried that I'm going to oversleep and then I'm going to miss my flight. And then I just don't sleep well the night before I got to catch a flight. And if you heard Daryl last week when we were sitting there talking, we normally record this on Saturday mornings, but we're actually doing this episode. We're recording it a couple of days in advance because Daryl's going to be away this weekend. And so we were recording this on Thursday night. So kind of a little bit different. I'm like, I got to get myself awake because usually I'm fresh. I'm ready to roll on Saturday morning. Now it's been a long, busy day and I get to go talk about Stryper to end the day. That's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, it's fine. I can sleep. I'm not driving to the airport, so I could probably catch a cat nap in the car on the way down. So it's all good. It's about a hour drive from here to the airport, and one of my best people is taking me down there. So I'm cool. We can do this however we want to. So yeah.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and dive in to what we're going to be doing this week. We got something a little special planned for today, which we're going to get into in just a moment. But before we do, the first thing we want to do is we want to talk about a couple of things that are happening this week from the Stryper news desk so that you are aware. And we did talk about this a few weeks ago. And now they actually have this out. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail on it, but the travel with Stryper, the trip to Greece, everything is now out on their website, May 11th through 20th of 2026. It goes through the entire itinerary. It talks about everything that's included, what's not included, a lot of information on this website, travelwithstryper.com. Now, if you are interested in going, just be aware that only 90 people are going to be able to go on this trip with them. Now, one thing I did see, and it was way down. Oh, that was just like, sorry if you're watching this on the screen. I just scrolled down really fast on you. Very interesting. Right now, the website does say there are no plans for a performance, but it's also not out of the question. But what I saw during the trip and what they would be doing each day, each night, where they would be touring. Again, they talked a little bit about it on their Bible study on Patreon last week. The pastor who did the Bible study last week is the one who's going to be leading this trip. And so you will have a meet and greet with the band. I think it's on the first night, but go to travelwithstryper.com. You'll be able to find out everything you need to know about the trip.
That's it. That's I don't know how I feel about this. It's like if you get to hang out with the band, but they're not gonna perform.
If I recall correctly, they're working on to see what they can do. I think part of it's logistics and getting everything set up and all of that. I guess it's just like you get to go hang with them. You get to go to this part of the world where like Apostle Paul walked and a lot of the disciples walked. It's supposed to be pretty impactful.
Okay, well if that's a component of it, then I'm totally down for that. But yeah, I didn't realize that was a thing. But yeah, just I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of put this whole thing together. Because like yeah, I wouldn't mind hanging out with the band for a few days, but I would want to see some music. But if there's a spiritual component to that whole thing, then that'll be cool.
Yeah, because apparently they're going to be, and like I said, I don't want to get into it. Feel free to go to travelwithstriper.com and find out, but they'll be doing like Bible studies, different places. It's like you'll be on land for 5 days and then you'll be on a cruise for a few days and then back to land. So it looks pretty cool, but travelwithstriper.com, again, 90 people are going to be able to go. And one thing that I did find out is, and this kind of put a shot in it for me, potentially, I'm trying to find out, but
Careful.
they did say on there like they wouldn't be able to accommodate anybody younger than 12 years old. Because when I mentioned it to my wife, she's like, "Oh, that sounds really cool." And so we actually started talking about the three of us going, but with Matthew, with my son being the age that he is, he's younger than 12. So now every now and then I'll sit there and go, "Hey, honey, when I get back from that 2 week trip," and so I'm trying to sell her on it, but I'm not doing so good at overcoming objections.
Yeah, I could see where that would be a problem, but, hey, you keep doing your thing.
I know. Keep doing my thing. So we also did talk about this. Our next thing from the Stryper news desk is the greatest gift of all. That album is coming out again November 21st. They've got it up on their website. You can go ahead and go pre-order it, or you can go to the Frontiers, but they actually have their next song is going to be released on October 3rd, and it's called On This Holy Night. And
Hmm.
so be on the lookout for that song dropping uh, a little less than a month before the album will actually come out. And I'm dropping this on Daryl right now. I haven't spoken to him about it, but it's maybe what we could do with On This Holy Night. We could do a reaction video, or we could save it to where we listen to it together the first time together while we're recording and do a reaction to what the song is, like some of those reaction videos. So we do something entirely different from our weekly episode and we do a reaction video to On This Holy Night.
No, I dig it, especially if it's on Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I'm totally down with that.
but yeah, go ahead and order the greatest gift of all. It's, it's got a couple of not only the album, you've got merchandise like t-shirts, hoodies, all that kind of stuff going to be shipped out, supposed to be delivered around November 21st. So make sure you get on and get that stuff ordered. And one last thing, if you are living out on the West Coast and you're in Las Vegas or California, a couple of upcoming Michael Sweet acoustic sets. And again, if you look right behind Daryl's left shoulder, you'll see a acoustic poster from where we went and saw Michael Sweet do one of the acoustic sets in Abbeville, South Carolina, a couple of years ago. And if you haven't had the chance, it's definitely worth going and seeing. They've got some VIPs, that you're able to that you can get. But he will be at the Backstage Bar and Billiards on Friday, November the 7th. And then the following
On
night,
Fremont Street. Okay, Fremont. That'll be fun.
and then on the following night, November the 8th, he will be in California at the Coach House Concert Hall, San Juan Capistrano. I don't know if I just said
Yep.
that right. If I
Yes,
didn't,
you did.
okay,
Yes, you did.
Capistrano, California, November 8th. And you've got ticket and VIPs available at michaelsweet.com for both shows. So, again, if you haven't seen the acoustic set, it's a pretty cool gig to go and check out.
Yeah, super fun. Just a different vibe from the entire Stryper experience. But yeah, he's kind of just Mike being Mike, and yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, it really is fun. And my wife went, my two youngest sons went when we went up there, and it was a pretty cool concert hall and that we were able to see. It was called the Abbeville Opera House, is where we went and saw them at.
That place was dope. I expected to see the two dudes from the freaking Muppet Show over there in the balcony because that's seriously that was like the vibe of the whole place. But yeah, that show was really fun. It was like really small, but Yeah, dude, it was just, Mike doing his thing, so but yeah, if if you're interested in just a small acoustic kinda thing, then yeah, heck yeah, go do that, so but especially on Fremont, which is, like, people that aren't that's old school Vegas. So, if he's playing that spot on Fremont Street, I'm just like, "Well, dang, that that sounds awesome." So, yeah, I think we both recommend because it's just a scaled down
Yeah.
kinda acoustic thing, so, yeah, it was really fun when we went and saw that.
Yeah, it definitely was. So again, those 2 dates, Las Vegas and then California, and the tickets aren't much, 50, $60 to get in. You can do the VIP, which we did. We did the VIP when we went to and saw the show in Abbeville. So great show, michaelsweet.com. Go check it out if you have the opportunity to. So that's what we had
Yeah.
going on at the Stryper News Desk this week. And for today, on today's show, first of all, before we get going, I do want to do a quick call out to Chuck, who has been watching and listening and been providing some feedback and comments. And he found us and said, man, I just found you. I'm going to binge watch you. So, Chuck, I just want to say thanks for listening. We appreciate it. And like I said, if you have any feedback, comments, anything that you would want us to hear, we would definitely let us know. We'll dive into it. And, but again, thank you for listening and just spread the word because we're still relatively new and people are finding us all different types of ways. And just, yeah, thank you. Thank you for spreading the word and thank you for listening, Chuck. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I was stoked, but yeah, again, comments, feedback, we suck, we're awesome, whatever, who cares? Yeah, any feedback is good feedback.
Yeah, because what was funny was there were a couple of people I saw that had followed us, and I was like, "Man, this is pretty cool." I saw them and I was like, "We got a couple of people." Then when I went and looked at them, I went, "Oh, they're related to your wife." So, but hey, but no, for everybody that's listening though, thank you for listening. And one of the most common questions that I get, and I know that you get, when we talk about this podcast and what we do is, are you ever going to talk about anything other than Stryper, or is it solely devoted to Stryper? And yes and no, mainly Stryper and Michael Sweet's side projects, Sweet and Lynch, Soul Driver, Sunbomb, Iconic. I mean, we'll get into all of that later on down the road. But today, to answer your question, yes, today we're going to do the episode a little bit different where we're going to be diving into something that I feel is pretty special. Something that most of you, if you've listened to Stryper, you will know the admiration that Stryper has for the band Van Halen, as well as the impact and the influence that that band has had on Michael Sweet and Stryper themselves. And the reason we wanted to take some time today and talk a little bit about Eddie Van Halen is that coming up this Monday, October 6th, it'll be 5 years since the passing of Eddie Van Halen. And outside of Stryper, Van Halen for me was one of the most influential bands that I listened to growing up as a kid and still listen to this day. And for me, I well, we can talk a little bit about which do you prefer the DLR? Do you prefer the Sammy Hagar? Do you even like the Gary Sharon album that they did? But we really wanted to focus a little bit today on Eddie Van Halen and pay tribute to this guy who just changed the world of rock with the way that he played his guitar. And with that, what we're going to do today as we go through this, we're going to be talking about our 5 favorite solos from Eddie Van Halen, and then also our 5 favorite solos from Stryper. So Daryl, I don't know if you have anything that you, because I remember when Eddie passed, you and I were texting, and it was like, I can't believe this just happened.
This is a tough one, and as I'm talking about it, I'm tearing up a little bit. Van Halen was the band that got me into playing drums and listening to rock music pretty much from the jump. And I might have been like, God, I wasn't even playing drums yet. It was just the first, eruption, all that kind of stuff. But as I was going through this, I was like, as I'm doing right now, very freaking emotional. I mean, Eddie Van Halen is a one of one. There's nobody else. I mean, you can look at Randy Rhoads, you can look at Slash, you can look at Stevie Ray Vaughan, but EVH is a one of one. Nobody nobody's ever played like that. And so going through the catalog, it was just like, holy crap. And it just made me sad that he's not here anymore. But I'm very I'm very happy that I go get to see his kid next month. Wolfie is a great performer, so anybody interested in that, go see Mammoth because they're really good, and he's a really good songwriter and all that stuff that comes with it. But as I'm listening to some of the Van Halen stuff, I'm just like, oh, God, he's he's not here anymore. I was talking with the wife about, okay, here's what we're doing. And she was kind of giving me some feedback, and I'm just like, all right, so give me something. She's like, well, obviously Hot for Teacher, and she gave me a few titles, but I'm just like, it's just a freaking bummer, dude. I mean, there has never been a a guitar player like Eddie Van Halen. And so, and I'm not saying that on pejoratively or hyperbolic. It's just it's a freaking fact. So nobody played with that style. And so when I hear some of the stuff, 3 6 there's there's just stuff that nobody else has ever done before. So I am like, sorry, I'm ever speaking, but but I can't overstate my respect for this guy because like I say, he's a one of one.
I think when you talk about him being a one-on-one, it's almost like there was guitar playing before Eddie, and then there's guitar playing after Eddie, because he brought in some groundbreaking techniques that a lot
Yeah.
of people hadn't used before. And going back to, and why are we talking? It's like, okay, yes, we're talking about Eddie on a Stryper podcast because of the influence that Eddie Van Halen did have on Michael Sweet. I mean, a couple of quotes that I pulled up, and this is what I found. They were linked to articles. So if anybody says, hey, he didn't really say that, well, then these are articles are lying then. But one of the things that is quoted to Michael Sweet is, no musician influenced me as much as Van Halen and Eddie Van Halen. He also
There's probably a ton of people that could say the same thing.
and then he's also said there was just something special that happened to him when he first heard Van Halen 1. And it just he went on, and I don't know if it was a different article or not, but it exploded at a volatile time in music, and basically what I was just saying, rewrote music history.
Well, how many people picked up a guitar when they heard Eruption? I mean,
Yeah, I know.
that's that's one of the most I'm being hyperbolic, but how many pieces of music made younger cats pick up an instrument because of that because of Eruption?
I'll say this. Growing up, my I really wasn't introduced to Van Halen until 1984. So there was almost a whole series of albums that I just wasn't aware of. Call it my age, call it what we were listening to in our house, because my dad, he always was listening to The Who, the Rolling Stones. That's what I grew up a lot on when it came to rock music, when it came to those kind of bands as I was growing up. And my mom was listening to different, definitely not listening to rock music. So, I mean, so it just wasn't introduced to me at a young age. And it really wasn't introduced to me until we had MTV in the house and I saw Jump for the first time. And I remember one time you were over at my house, and this was before I understood editing and how they recorded stuff. And I was like, my gosh, they are changing their clothes so many times in this video. And I remember we sat there and counted one, two, three, four, and we just counted how many times the clothes flipped around in there. But with the 1984 album came Jump, came Hot for
Panama.
Teacher, came Panama, just another solid album. And I remember your mom one year where it was Thanksgiving or Christmas. I don't remember where it was, but we were over at our grandparents' house, mom and pops, and we were sitting there talking. And your mom said their Bible Sunday school lesson one time, they brought up the subject of the cover of 1984. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Because the kid had a cigarette in his hand.
Yes. And he was an angel on that album cover. But that is where I first heard Van Halen. And so then it was just like, there's more? There's more than this? And so it took me back to Van Halen 1. And I just remember the first time I heard that album. I can't remember the date and time, but I just remember it just being like, what's going on with this album? This album's incredible. What Eruption, like you said, it really
Yeah,
brought me into more of a love of rock music at that time than I had had before.
I think Van Halen 1 is just one of those records where I didn't know about rock and roll, and maybe I was listening to the Stones or the Beatles or whatever. When you turn on Van Halen, it's like it flips a switch in your brain because that's exactly what it did for me, and it's like Running with the Devil. Oh, Eruption, Feel Your Love, Ice Cream Man. I mean, there's so many songs on that, and it's just like there's so much going on there. But at the end of the day, Eddie is like just you never heard nothing like that before. See, it's it's that's when you got turned on to one of the best guitar players of all time, but you didn't know that yet. And so, yeah, the fact that I mean, at our age bracket, we got to like this is one of the greatest guys of all time. And so it was just cool that you got to kind of come up because you got to go through Van Halen 1, Van Halen 2, and then yeah, and a lot of people came up on 1984 because that's where they got like huge. But when you go backwards, which a lot of times even with us was Stryper, we started somewhere but then we had to go back. But like you just said,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, there's more Van Halen. Okay, cool. Yeah, but there's I mean, like I got real emotional going through because legit listened to a ton of Van Halen. I'm just like, oh my god, this guy is not here anymore, and he's one of the guys that got me into rock and roll. And then, whew, yeah, it was a lot this past week.
Yeah, you bring up something interesting too when you talk about 1984 is when they got really big. Because one of the things, and this is something that if you follow Michael Sweet at all on social media, this should come as no surprise to you. But he is a fan of the early Van Halen, everything with David Lee Roth. He will sit there and say there was the band, and I'll admit, you listen to the David Lee Roth, you listen to the Sammy Hagar era, you can hear, you know, there's a difference in the way the band is writing the music, but even in the Sammy era, there is still that signature Eddie, in my opinion. It's Eddie playing guitar, but they always want, but people will, especially, Sammy Hagar will sit there and say, well, all four of the albums that he participated in all went to number one. And under the David Lee Roth era, not one album went to number one. But I can guarantee you, yeah, there wasn't one, not one David Lee Roth
1984?
out. Not 19, that's what I was about to say. 1984 spent 5 weeks
Number
at
2.
number two.
Okay.
And ahead of it for those 5 weeks was one of the best selling albums ever, Michael Jackson Thriller.
Thriller. Dang it.
And if Michael Jackson hadn't released that album or it hadn't been as popular, Van Halen's first number one album would have been 1984. But nobody was topping Michael Jackson with Thriller during that time. But Eddie did play on that album. He played the solo on Beat It
What's really
and
hilarious
made no
is
money
it
and
made
did it for free.
made no money, and so here's the story, because I've read, Steve Lukather was a guitar player on the Thriller record, and he played also in Toto, and he's a sensational guitar player. But yeah, when they contacted Eddie, uh, the rule of Van Halen is like, we don't do anything outside of Van Halen, and everybody was out of town when he was doing the Beat It solo, and he's like, well, I don't have anybody to call and ask permission for, so I'm just gonna do this thing, and who cares? So yeah, that whole story is just weird, but
And if you're young and listening to this was the days before texting and carrying a phone in your pocket. So, yes, if somebody was out of town, it was very hard to reach people back then.
well, his brother was gone, Anthony was gone, so everybody was gone, so he's like, "Well, okay, let me just go ahead and do this," and the story is he got paid $1 million, but if you roll it back, he's like, "I didn't get paid for that."
Yeah, I know. Because he was on, gosh, who, well, I'd have to find the clip because I remember he was being interviewed by somebody and they were talking about the Beat It. And this was years later, like a couple of decades later, I think, when they did this clip. And I can't remember who it was, but he was like saying, yeah, I didn't make any money on it. But with
Well,
Van Halen,
he was working with Quincy Jones on something else, and Quincy was like, "Hey, can you hook me up over here?" And he basically did it just as a kind of a I won't say charity, but you got Eddie Van Halen playing on a number one song. So yeah, I mean, the whole thing's just kind of funky.
yeah. So, but that was the interesting thing though, because yeah, it was. I really believe 1984 would have been number one, but Michael Jackson's Thriller kept them from being number one during that time.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so we are going to share with you what our top five favorite solos are. And before we get into that, I'm just gonna be completely transparent with the audience today. When it comes to the tech, you'll hear Daryl, and we've talked about this before, where Daryl plays the drums. He still plays them today, and has that musicianship about him that he can goes listen to these layers, or listen to him do this, or listen to him do that. Me personally, I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue. I sit there and I listen to a song and I go, yeah, I like the guitar of that song. I don't know if they're finger tapping. I don't know if they're using a whammy, but I just like the sound of it. And so when we when we went to say this is what we wanted to do and pick out our five favorite solos, I was sitting there going, how the heck am I going to describe why I like this besides saying five different times, I just really like the sound of this song. So I will say this. I cheated. I cheated. So I did pick out my five favorite solos by Eddie Van Halen. But I went in and I did research on it and I said, why do people say this is a good guitar solo
Oh,
by E- Eddie Van Halen? And so when I read things out tonight, just know that I am reading out. And if somebody goes, oh, he just plagiarized that. Yeah, I'm going to say I am reading what other people said because you do not want to hear me say tonight 5 different times. I like this song because I like the intro and the solo's kind of cool, and I can't tell you anything technical about it. And then I did the same thing with my Stryper stuff as well. The five there. It's just like I know I like the song, just like just like Huey Lewis once saying, "I know what I like. I know what I like. I know what I like." And this is me. This is what I like. And okay, well,
oh my gosh. Okay. You brought the Huey Lewis into it. That's okay.
another great album that came out in 1984, or was at least
Sport
on the charts in 1984. I want to say maybe it came out in 83, but it came out around the same time frame.
sports. Yep. We were in California when I bought that.
Yep, you were in California, and just so
But
I happen to have sports. This is why we should stick to doing it on Saturday mornings.
oh
We're a little
my gosh, that's
we're
hilarious.
tired, we're sleep deprived, so we're going
Who
off the
cares?
rails here,
Who
enjoying
cares?
it. But it's fun. It's all good.
I bought Sports and Purple Rain on the same day when we were in California at Tower Records.
And I bought the Ghostbuster soundtrack.
Of course.
But I remember we went back to our aunt and uncle's home because we were out in California in the summer of '84, and we took and we didn't buy Huey Lewis in the News. So what we did was you grabbed a boom box, I grabbed a boom box, and you played Huey Lewis from one boom box. I recorded it on tape into the other boom box, and that was how I listened to sports until I bought it myself.
Oh my god. That is I that memory was not there until now. That wow. That is amazing. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we did so many things in California that summer, but I do remember recording Huey Lewis and the New Sports, and I remember going to Tower Records. And we went to San Diego and I think we went to Universal. We did several other things while we were out
Yeah, we
there.
did touristy stuff, but the trip to Tower Records was, I don't know. That was my gig because I was like, all right, I'm going to California and I'm going to Tower Records. So what could be better?
But
So,
would you like to kick us off with your first?
man, so I got notes here. Did did I text you Mean Streets?
You did not. And if you did, I missed it. Shoot, I hope you didn't.
Well, just pull up Spotify, and if I'm looking at Eddie Van Halen and I was getting a little verklempt. I listened to the entirety of Mean Streets, and I'm like, there's there's stuff at the front, there's stuff in the middle, and there's stuff in the back, and I'm just like, I and even past Eruption, this song for me is like, I can pull it up. It's not a big deal, but it's just it it just gives you everything you need to know about Eddie Van Halen. And then there's some other stuff that nobody's doing in the middle, and then there's stuff nobody's doing at the end, and I'm just like, this is the this is the freaking guy. And I'll keep this short, but it's a lot of it is I'm not gonna sit here and listen to the whole damn thing, but a lot of it is really just unexplainable when you're sitting here looking at it, um, for the entirety of the Van Halen catalog is just like, yeah, he's okay, we're grooving, but he just does some just insane stuff. And part of me was like, hey, we're doing EVH solos, and I was having to separate the solo from the song. I mean, you got Roth lyrics, prime Roth, but the beginning of Mean Streets and the solo for Mean Street for me is just golly, because it's. But I was having a really hard time separating it from the song itself, because what you think is nothing might be something after all. Just the just all of this stuff too. I don't know. I guess Mean Street will be a what do you call it? Honorable mention.
Okay. Yeah, because you did send me one that was honorable mention from the same album.
Yeah, I did. So I'll stop. But yeah, I did have I did have a couple things. So anyway, Mean Streets to me that opening is it's like, hey, you ain't never heard nothing like that before. And so whatever. Sorry I didn't send that to you, but yeah, that's I mean, Mean Street for me is like that's like prime Van Halen. So
Yeah, because I know that's off of Fair Warning, and that's your favorite album by VH, isn't
absolutely
it?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah, because that is a good one. And as we were talking earlier, just our favorite albums from the DLR era for me, it was probably VH1 and not the music video channel, but Van Halen one. And got to be clear there. So with Van Halen, because with that, you just had the songs, like you said earlier, you had Eruption, you had Jamie's Crying, you had Feel Your Love Tonight. And that song was where I actually learned to love. We've talked about it on some of the Stryper songs, just that the song stops. Maybe you just have the drums, maybe you just have an instrument in the back, or it's just completely a cappella with all the harmonies going on. The end of that song, when they just stop and David Lee Roth comes in and then Mike and Anthony come in behind him, like, I can't, I'm not going to sing it. Just go listen to the
Yeah, I
song. But
can't wait to yeah, Feel Your Love
that
Tonight,
is
yeah.
that is where I just learned to love harmonies like that on a song. And that's one of the reasons why I love them so much in Stryper songs. But as I look at this and I think honorable mention, and for me, you probably did a better job separating the solo from the song because it was really hard for me to do that. It was really hard for me to separate the solo from the song. And so my honorable mention went for And the Cradle Will Rock.
Hell yeah.
And what my friends on the internet
Yeah.
said was that
You know
they said this solo on this song was just completely about weirdness and tone. And they went on to say that Eddie really pushes the boundaries here. It's swampy, sludgy, and full of unnatural sounding bends and modulated effects. And one of the things that I thought was interesting was it said he even ran and I may say this incorrect, a Wurlitzer electric piano through a Marshall amp for the opening riff. So right from the start, it says the song is daring, the solo itself like it's melting. It goes on to say, though, not his splashiest, but definitely one of his boldest statements. But I just love the guitar.
okay.
like I said, if I'm just saying it, I love the guitar, love the sound of it, love the opening of it. Just another good solid EVH.
I can't argue with this. I don't dig this album as much as I do some of the other ones, but and there's wait, this is women and children
first.
right? Yeah, this is women and children. So there's more covers on here than I would like, but it seems like whenever there's like I have a couple more of these on my list, but whenever there's ending is so freaking. Hey, have you seen Junior's grades? It seems like whenever there's an epic Eddie solo that we do a full stop or a tempo change or something to like, hey, Eddie's about to do some. I don't know. This is a good pick. I mean, I could sit here and listen to the whole thing, but I'm not going to. So, yes, folks are overjoyed. Yeah, still a great song. I don't dig this record as much as I do others, but there's still. Golly, what's the damn song? I'm not even gonna try. I think it's the second track on here, but it's in a movie soundtrack.
Oh, Everybody Wants Some. It was in The Better Off
Yeah.
Dead with John Cusack.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yes. I want my $2. Or where's my $2? You know.
No, where's my $2? That's exact. Yeah, Better Off Dead. Yeah, and they had the animated hamburger on the freaking that whole thing. It's just so stupid.
It was stupid, but it was great. It was great, but
full on 80s. Yeah, come on. So,
but that was my honorable mention. Was "And the Cradle Will Rock."
All right, cool.
And for me, my top 5 as I go through these, they're in no particular order. They're just
no, mine either. I mean, I was just getting mad that Eddie was dead as I was going through all these things. And I was like, we're not getting any more music from this guy, and it really was pissing me off.
So now, the top 5.
Yeah, so I was talking with Ro last night. My wife's nickname is Ro for all you guys. So she's like, well, it's obviously hot for teacher. And I was like, yeah, probably. Because, and again, I was having such a problem separating the solo from the song. Because that right there, I was bitching at my drum teacher, like, hey man, I want to learn how to play that. It took a minute. It's really freaking hard. But again, it's Ed. We're not even to the solo yet. It's again, he's a one of one, and we can get through halfway through the song, but the song is so comical. Because
the video was great too.
Yeah, the video is awesome, but he's doing these little pull up. It's kind of an acoustic song almost. But then they were doing all this stuff. I don't know. I was getting so mad because Van Halen was such a big. Everything was big. It was hard for me to pull the solos from the song. Because you get like this kind of. And you got Mike Anthony over here on the bottom end. I don't know. This is really, I hate every exercise that we do is like really freaking hard. I can't separate the song from the solo. I got my pencil. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, these
Anyway,
days we have too many kids hot for their teachers.
you wrong for that. Anyway, we're not even to the solo yet, but that's my
I mean,
pick
this is
for.
a good choice. I mean, because when you sent this one to me, I was like, I thought about the intro, even like you were talking about, even before they get to DLR coming in, just seeing just what he's doing. He just is all over the board with how he is playing on this song. So this was a good choice.
Well, I mean, he's a song and dance man. He's not a great singer, but he can, he can get in there and make it fun. That's what he's always done. So here we go. This this is freaking stupid. It's Eddie being Eddie, and then we have a little cut here. Yeah, whatever. It at the end of the day, when I was doing all this stuff, I was like, man, he's arguably top 3 guitar players of all time. So you're gonna pick 5 solos, and I'm just like, what? Just pick the ones that you like, because there's so much material, you can't really pin it down. So, but then when this came out, it was like this was a little different. It was a little harder, and we had the kids in the video and all that kind of stuff. And my God, and the ending is awesome. So yeah, I mean, it's a great song. It's so much fun. So that's where I'll sit with this one. It is what it is.
Speaking of songs that are fun, I'll go to a song that I've always just thought was a fun song just to listen to. And this one actually comes from the Sammy Hagar era and we didn't say this, but Hot for Teacher was on 1984. Summer. So my next song came off of the first album with Sammy Hagar.
Summer Night.
And Summer Nights. And I remember when they were playing this, it was a video, and I'm just going to say a video of Joe Satriani when they were getting ready to do the Best of Both Worlds tour last year. And I heard him playing it, and we all know that Satriani is a great guitar player, but I just remember hearing it going, that's the first time. Now, I know it got better as he went on, but just that first video clip that I saw, I was like, that's not how it sounds. It's like he's not getting it. Is this tour going to be any good? Those were my thoughts, because that beginning part of it. But for me, I just always Summer Nights. What can you complain about a summer night? I mean, again, and the different things that he does within this, it's almost like going back to my friends here. I mean, the solo matches the mood. The solo isn't necessarily too wild in this song, but it's melodic and uplifting, like a guitar singing throughout this song. And what makes it great is how well it just fits the vibe of the song. I mean, there's just joy and freedom, summer nights, your radio. It's just classic Eddie. You heard this song. The thing I love about this song, if you knew Eddie's guitar playing, you knew the minute he started playing, that's Van Halen. That's Eddie Van Halen. It's just no denying that was a solid, just Eddie Van Halen riff right at the beginning of the song.
Yeah, to me, that's where the great players land, because you hear Brian May, you hear Eddie, you hear Steve Vai, you take your pick, but that's when because they have a voice. So when you can tell it's like, oh, that's that guy or that's that guy. I mean, that's how you know that they're great because they don't sound like anybody else. So when I hear Brian May, I know that's Brian May. When I hear Eddie, I know it's Eddie. And there's a handful of other dudes. But yeah, Summer Nights is this section of the song should not be here, but they're just like sticking it in there, like, but because they have Eddie Van Halen as their guitar player.
And with this song, it was one of those songs where, and I've heard Sammy Hagar say this before in interviews, where Eddie Van Halen was just sitting there playing the beginning of this, saying, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And then immediately he started saying, "Summer nights in my," just started singing it right off the bat, and they came up with a song instantly.
This was their first. I think it was their first session in the studio, if my memory is correct, because Eddie had already had this riff worked out, and then Sammy picked up the medley, and it just formed like organically, like on their first recording session. So, but it's like, yeah, it's like, and then you get Mike in it, and you know, it's God.
I know.
It's
But they
it's a
did
great
write.
song.
They did write this album in 10 days.
Yeah, this whole thing, the whole 5150 thing was kind of ridiculous. They had a lot of stuff loaded, but then Summer Nights was like it felt like it was kind of a really organic song to come through, and I was like, dang, dude, that's really cool because I can't do that. But yeah, it was really cool how the formation of I will say the reformation of Van Halen with Sammy on 5150 was a really interesting thing because it's like you fired your lead who song and dance man, and then you brought in a guy who was already like had a reputation and doing all the stuff and could write songs, and then all right, let's go. And then all right, so we have a brand new era, like off the jump. So, but
And how many times did you watch Live Without a Net? Hundreds for me. Hundreds.
too many, yeah, too many to count. I have it downloaded on my cloud, so yeah.
Live Without a Net, for those that don't know, Live Without a Net was
Go to
when
YouTube.
Van Halen was touring on the 5150 album.
Well, when they hired Sammy, it wasn't even on the tour. It was like, hey, we fired Dave and we got this new guy. It was the whole process of reforming the band. One of the biggest bands of all time. So yeah, it's
And,
that
and,
thing
and
was
the thing,
pretty.
and I was just going to say, Live Without a Net, this is just an image that is just burned in my brain. And you always see Eddie whenever he's playing, like when they went into Summer Nights and they're sitting there playing it at the beginning, he's just sitting there looking in the camera, smiling. Every time you saw that guy playing the guitar, it just looked like he was the happiest guy in the world. I mean, he was just always smiling when he was playing, and it just showed through.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about EVH is he always looked like he was having fun. But in the early days of Sammy, I mean, Sammy always looked like I mean, the whole freaking group looked like they were having a blast. And it looked like they were lighter, and I don't know if that's because DLR was gone or what, but
Yeah.
if you look at that that video, it's like when they're doing the best of both worlds and they're like the
Yep.
3 of them are like they're like basically just right next to each other. They look like they're having a freaking good time.
Oh yeah, they'll sit there and say they will sit there, and I've heard more Sammy interviews about that time, and more recently from Michael Anthony, just how it was kind of like a reformed band. It was Van Halen, new lead singer. Now some people will say that they lost some of the rawness and the energy, that the Sammy Hagar era was more commercialized, more polished, more this, and that's why they didn't really like it. But I look at it and I go, yeah, I was teenager Sammy Hagar era, really listening to those songs were new coming out, new albums. So I enjoyed the Sammy Hagar era more than I did the DLR era, just because, like I said earlier, I had to go back and get caught up, and all those songs were out. It wasn't, it was new for me listening, but they were already older songs. But just watching this band for the next decade with Sammy Hagar, it was a lot of fun for me. And then even with, and I would just encourage you, not you, Daryl, but anybody listening, because you and I have talked about this recently, is if you haven't listened to it, or if you kind of turned your nose up to it, go back and listen to Van Halen 3 with Gary Sharon, because it is an album with Eddie Van Halen. Sounds, I mean, you've got Gary Sharon of Extreme on there, different, but there are a couple of my favorite Van Halen songs that are on that album. And it's so, don't forget that portion of the band's history as well. But I know there's been a lot of debate. Like Alex Van Halen ended his book and said, yeah, we've had a couple of other singers, but kind of like what people have said, it was just like in these first 9 years with David Lee Roth, we built it. We started out for nothing. So it was different because those four were in it together building the band. When Sammy came in, they were already established. They were just reforming and redoing. It's again two different eras, but I like both of them.
Well, Sharon stepped into a unwinnable situation, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I mean, it's like, okay, well, we had David Lee Roth and we had Sammy Hagar, and now you get to try to fix that, and just like you can't you can't fix that.
No.
So he's a he's an amazing vocalist. I mean, Sharon is a incredible vocalist. So go listen to freaking Extreme Six at this point.
Yes.
And he does have one of the best guitar players on planet Earth. So,
Nuno.
Nuno is, yeah, all that stuff. So I would say Sharon and Extreme. I like that better. He was in a no win situation with Van Halen.
No, I agree with you. He was definitely, and then at the time too, grunge had come in and basically destroyed rock. I mean, if you think back to the album Balance, it was a
Yeah. Yeah,
kind of a
Mountain, yeah. No.
darker album. I liked the album, but it was different because the music world was changing at that point, and there wasn't a lot of balance in the band at that time. I'll say
Right.
that.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. Yeah, he was kinda messed up from the beginning because there was no way he was gonna get in there and be able to replace Sammy, and the brothers were already like, I don't know what they were thinking about, but, yeah, they they already kicked Sammy out, so I was just like, "All right, well, whatever y'all wanna do," but yeah, there was just no winning at that point, so Sharon was kind of effed from the start, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I'd agree, and probably need to keep moving on because we're over an hour in and we've only done one song. So we've got four more to do on the on the VH side.
Oh, my word. Alright, well, so what? You're next or me next?
Go ahead. You're up.
Well, so I was out of work for about 9 months last year, and every time I had a job interview, I would play Get Up, and it was just It's just it's Van Halen thrash, which we don't get a lot of. Alex is just double bassing, and I know we're talking about guitar solos, but again, having having the problem of taking the solo aside from the song, but man, I just love the song. But it's a different flavor of Van Halen, right? So it's it is like Van Halen thrash. So once you get to the solo, it's like, all right, cool, this is different, and he's playing that stupid Rickenbach. I mean, shoot, I can't even remember what the brand is. He's playing that guitar with the short headstock and just playing like Eddie, and I'm just like, all right, whatever, dude, do your thing. Yeah, this is literally a thing. Every time for like 8 months when I had a job interview, this is my song. But yeah, um, the the guitar solo in this is stupid. It's a ton of tapping, but it's freaking Eddie. So what do you expect? But I, I don't know. I just love this song because it's fast Van Halen.
Yeah, this song. I do like this song. I mean, the song "Get Up." Just this whole album. Yeah, just this whole album though. This is another one. Summer of 1986. Going on 13 years old. Playing basketball outside the entire summer. It was. I remember I was sitting. We were in class one day, and this was the year. No, yeah, summer of '86, and one of the guys was sitting there saying, "Hey, have you heard that song? Why Can't This Be Love?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's Van Halen." And I was just like, "Really?" But just had this album, played it the entire summer, and just you take a thrash, like you just said, you take kind of like a thrash sound, and then you go to this. Just
Gotta have a
another
good bridge. Gotta have a good bridge, man.
great
Here we
album.
go. And you got peak Sammy right here too.
Yes,
So it's just again trying to take the solo out of the song is really freaking hard.
it is. It is. And it's hard to do it with any of these songs. But I like this choice because it is a good song. So
And
you're right.
you mentioned earlier, so we're watching the video. Eddie's always freaking smiling. It's crazy. I don't know.
I mean, this captures it. This 10 that you sent me, he's sitting here smiling, looking at his guitar right here. I mean, every picture where he's holding the guitar, he's just smiling while he's doing it.
No, he's always smiling. If you watch the Unchained or the what is it called? Unchained?
Unchained?
The MTV thing.
Live Without a Net.
Yeah, Live Without a Net. If you watch all those live performances, he always has a freaking smile on his face.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing to watch him. And yeah, Live
It
Without
is
a Net. If you haven't
really
seen Live Without a Net, go check it out. It's on YouTube.
yeah, it's on YouTube.
You can find it anywhere. Definitely
It's
go
only
check
like
that out.
it's yeah, and it's really it's only like 40 minutes, but yeah, it I've never seen because usually when you're watching like if you're watching Slash, you can't see what his face looks like. If you're watching
His hair.
yeah, right. He's got his top hat on in his hair. If you're watching Ed, his face is like right towards the camera and he's smiling the entire time.
Yeah.
So he's just a freaking legend.
I think probably only time that I didn't see him smiling was for the video Human Beings.
Mm.
but there was so much turmoil in the band
I was gonna
at that
say there's a
point.
lot of
That was the last song that they did with Sammy before he was gone. So, but
yeah,
yeah,
there was a lot
outside of
of
that one song, it was. But this is for my next pick. This is why I like this song. And some people might think that this is a controversial pick. And I didn't, I was like, because this is like one of my favorite songs by them. And I was going back and forth going, should I pick this one? Because it's not really this type of song. And when I was listening to the Eddie Trunk Spotify that you the his latest interview, and it had Sammy Hagar and Brian Adams on it. Brian Adams had those two on it, and I was listening to the Sammy Hagar. Sammy was actually talking about this particular song and the different changes, and he was like, I can't remember it exactly verbatim, but something like, "Is he trying to make it hard for me to write a song to this music?" So for me, I started thinking, okay, if Sammy was thinking that, then maybe there's more to the guitar on this song than what I originally thought. But my pick, or one of my picks, is from Balance, and it's "Can't Stop Loving You."
oh, okay.
And again, this would probably surprise some people, but people have said that Eddie's solo here is very tasteful. I mean, there's really no tapping, no over the top flash, just melody, control, and emotion. It shows a little bit more of a mature side to Eddie Van Halen, and it just shows too how he kind of evolved as a guitarist with that maturity, especially on because we just said a moment ago that Balance was like there was so much turmoil. It's a little bit darker. Grunge is out, but then you have this song on there, and this song to me I've just always loved this song, and the solo lifts the chorus emotionally, according to people. So it's like a voice within the song. So when I heard the interview the other day, I was like, okay, there's probably more to this than I realized because I'm not a musician. But I said, okay, I'm going to throw this one on there. I'm going to put "Can't Stop Loving You" on it because it's always been one of my favorites. Because I just love the acoustical type thing at the beginning that he does. And then it's just very simple, but it's just also different.
Yeah, this is a good pick. It's the solo here. It's so bright. It feels kind of like happy almost.
Yeah.
But if you think about like what's going on with the band at this point, I'm not sure exactly where they are at, but yeah, I mean, it is a, and I sent you pound the tone of the guitar during this period. I really dig it. And as I sent you Pound Cake, and it's kind of the same thing as that tone. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying as far as okay, as far
Well, you
as
said
far
Pound
as
Cake, so we can go ahead and jump into Pound Cake.
oh okay, all right, cool. Yeah, I think Ed had the tone through all this record, so it was just like, and so did Sammy, and so did Mike, and it was just like it felt really cohesive. So I don't know. I
Now,
think
one thing I was just going to say real quick, "Can't Stop Loving You" was on Balance. Pound Cake was on For Unlawful.
yeah, for unlawful. But what I was saying is the guitar tone to me
Oh,
sounds
guitar. Okay.
very similar. I think they were trying to kind of hold. I think they were. But yeah, I don't know. To me, this tone, especially and again, having to separate the solo from the song, because I'm sitting here listening to Mike going, he's freaking holding it down, and so like, and then Ed's doing the little harmonic pieces. right there.
Yeah, I'm just listening to Michael Anthony's bass part right now.
Oh, and then we get his vocals on the back end. It's it's hard to separate the components of Van Halen because Mike in the back, Mike on bass and the backing vocals, and then if we're talking about whatever vocalist we're talking about, maybe it's Sammy, maybe it's DOR, and always we have Alex in the back, but it's hard sometimes because the song rules, but I have to pull out a great Eddie Van Halen song, or excuse me, Eddie Van Halen solo out of a great Van Halen song. So it's hard to do sometimes, like right here.
And I mean,
Yeah,
and when he has a solo going on, like you said, Michael Anthony's kicking it on this one. So it's pulling just the solo out is, I could see why it's pretty hard on this one.
Because every time there's a great Eddie Van Halen solo, there's a great bass line underneath it. So, yeah, it's just. And Sammy's going to go up.
Well, I can tell you this. I have 3 picks left, and 2
We
of
haven't
them.
even started. We haven't even started on the Stryper stuff.
Yes. And the 2 picks I have after my next pick, we landed with 2 of the same songs.
Really?
So, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and do my next pick that you did not have.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and do my next pick.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
I'm going to do my next
All
pick
right.
while you're looking through that because we did not land on this one. But to me, it was kind of like, how could I not include this one on there? It's not a full 4-minute song. It's not, but
No,
it's
freaking.
the first time you want to hear what revolutionized guitar playing in 77,
79.
78, released in 78. This song, according to what I looked up and read, this is where it introduced groundbreaking techniques like the 2-hand tapping, the rapid legato runs, dive bombs, all played with precision, and just the creativity with this. Just go look reaction videos on YouTube to the song Eruption by people hearing it for the first time today. And this is what I love. Do you think it's over? Then he just comes back in and just takes it.
This is the part.
And then it's more than just a flashy display. It's musically structured, building tension, emotion, and climax. And all of this under 2 minutes. You hear what this guy can do in under 2 minutes. And as we said earlier, it inspired so many, including Michael Sweet himself. And it set a new technical standard. And if you took this song from 1978 and dropped it into 2025, to me, it still sounds so fresh. Like it could be released today and people would be like, what the heck is that? But it's just timeless. It's just timeless. So I had to go with Eruption because that is just like the first time we ever heard him playing solo by himself. And I could just imagine somebody dropping this into their cassette in 1978, because I would have been 4 going on 5 years old. So I wasn't buying a Van Halen 1, but dropping that in and hearing it at that time, knowing what the music was like prior to 78, and then what came in the 80s after people started going, oh my gosh, who is this guy? It just I mean, that right there revolutionized where music would go for the next decade and a half.
Gosh, further than that, but yeah, I mean, yeah, Eruption was definitely one of those, like, pivots towards, like, "Oh, you can do that on a guitar," and but Eddie was like, "Yeah, doing this," and I wish he weren't dead. I would love to learn or love to know how that technique, like, that tapping technique came around is like, because obviously he made that shit up, but it's influenced so many people. I mean, you think about the 80s. Think about how many people had the tapping style as part of their flair or whatever. Think about the guy from White Lion. Think about freaking
Vito
Randy
Bratta,
Rhoads.
yeah.
Think about, yeah, Vita Bratta. Think about Randy Rhoads. I mean, and actually, who was first? Randy Rhoads might have been. Anyway, who cares? But
And I
yeah,
think that's one of
if
the
you
reasons why I liked White Lion so much was you can sit there and watch a White Lion video and you see Vito just finger tapping on the guitar while he's playing. It's just how it inspired his guitar playing, and he was a great guitarist. I know there was a lot of
he
personal
was
stuff that happened, and he went home to take care of his parents after White Lion broke up, but he was an incredible guitarist. Again,
yeah.
influenced by the playing of Eddie Van Halen. So when I think about a lot of the bands that I listened to in the East, a lot of them were inspired, influenced by the playing of Eddie Van Halen.
Oh, of course, dude. I mean, how could seriously, if you were a kid in the late 70s, early how are you not inspired by Eddie Van Halen? I
Yeah.
don't know how that is even a possibility, 'cause you were absolutely listening to Van Halen. So it's, it's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, there's other ancillary influences. You might have your Ingves and your Frank Zappas or whatever, but if your instrument is the guitar, you're picking up a lot of your influences from EVH. So I don't know. I am not a guitar player. Don't profess to be one, but I don't know how you are a guitar player if one of your influences is not AV.
Yeah. Because we've
Just
talked about one of the songs that we have left about how when a guitarist will say, "What's your favorite Eddie song?" It would be this particular song, but we'll get to that in just a moment.
yeah, God, it's so yeah, it's so and we don't even have to do my number 5 because it's just kinda it's just like a personal favorite, but every freaking time I ask my because I play music a lot, like, live and with other people and all this kinda stuff. Every time I ask my guitar player friends, what's your favorite Van Halen song?" It's freaking
Little
50 it's
well,
freaking 5150,
this
and I'm
song
like, I don't understand."
this song made it into both of our top 5
Yeah.
because little funny story, when we went and saw the because this is probably my favorite, just this riff at the beginning, just the way it just goes through the song, it kind of slows down and then picks back up again and gets rocking again. It just made it always one of my favorites, and I've always loved hearing the guitar, playing the guitar. And the funny story was when we went and saw the Best of Both Worlds tour last year, we're standing there, this song comes on. I think I leap into Daryl's arms because I'm so excited. I hug him because I'm so excited that they're actually doing this song. And Unfortunately, it wasn't Eddie playing it live, but we got to take the memories we had of this song and how much we love this song and come back to it. And this, again, this is 5150 off the album 5150. It's a title track of the first album with Hagar. People will say that this solo on this, or the song itself, is just fluid and melodic, and you can feel Eddie leaning into emotion as much as technique. There's still some tapping and flash, but it's a little bit more restrained. And others have said stuff like, it just feels like Eddie saying, yeah, I can shred, but listen to this phrasing. There's a sense of storytelling here that wasn't as prominent in early Van Halen albums. And again, showing a little bit more maturity and expressive guitar work on this album. And I think that's why I really like this song, because it's not just it's taking you through this journey with his music. Starts off really hard, goes into a little bit of a slower melodic kind of vibe, and then back up into
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because you go from the driving chorus into this, and it speaks to Sammy's songwriting slash song construction. Because this is a great freaking song, but again, sorry,
it makes you stop and listen to it. I can't tell you how many times I have heard this song, and it's like, if you ever watch I don't know if you ever watched Seinfeld.
nope.
But there's this episode where Elaine's dating this guy, and it's like when he hears the song, totally different vibe of song, but when he hears the song Desperado, he's like, shh, be quiet. I got to hear it. That's how it's like, when I hear this song, don't talk over it. I want to hear it. I want to hear the guitar, and here comes the solo in it. And it's just like, let me listen to this, because this is just such, from a guy who can't play guitar, I just hear it and go, this is such genius work on a guitar.
And again, go back to the video. If you watch this song on Live Without a Net, Ed is having a freaking ball.
Yes.
And he's got that freaking just giant smile on his face. And I'm just like, man, I'm really glad that you are having such a good time doing what you're doing. And the other dudes in the band are like around him, and it's just like, sorry, too much silence, but
But it makes you want to stop and listen to it.
yeah, it's a really good song, and I'm just like,
This was my ringtone at one point.
I'm not surprised, but yeah, when my musician friends started telling me that 5150 was their favorite Van Halen song, I was like, really? And the more I listened to it, I'm just like, all right, yeah, I could see that. I don't necessarily agree with that, but there's some stuff going on that makes that I can get with. God,
I know.
and that right there is, I mean, Alex is going off. Yeah,
So we've got one song left.
and we haven't even gotten to Stryper yet.
Yeah. Off. All right. So we've got one song left. Both of us do, because we've just went through all of our other songs, and we actually both agree on this song. Shouldn't come as no surprise, because just a couple of weeks ago we talked about this when we did the countdown of To Hell with the Devil. There was the song "Rockin' the World," where Michael Sweet, and two different interviews that I heard him in, say "Rockin' the World" sounded like a toned down this particular song. Again, getting the influence from Eddie Van Halen. And but before we get there, one thing I do want to say is, if you go to the covering album, Stryper did cover on the covering album On Fire. So
Yeah.
take a listen to that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Just again, talking about the musical influence. But on this song we're about to play, Michael Sweet even talked about how a particular Stryper song had a toned down version of, and let me find it, Unchained. And when you hear the beginning of Unchained, go listen to Rockin' the World off of To Hell with the Devil, and you will see how he gets it there and say that it had that influence on them. And so what I loved, I'm watching Daryl sing this, so I'll go ahead and talk for just a minute, but what I found and what people are saying about the song is that this is a riff masterclass. Went on to say the solo doesn't go off the rails in terms of speed, but it's definitely full of attitude. Eddie uses whammy bar dives, pinched harmonics, subtle phrasing to create a gritty, muscular lead break, and it gives the whole track kind of a metallic swagger that ultimately became iconic. And the solo doesn't overpower, it serves the song, which is one of the reasons what makes it so effective.
Man, you can't tell me nothing about this song. Freaking, again, trying to separate the song from the solo. Dave is like at 11. So it's really hard, but this is one of my favorite Van Halen songs for sure. And then they changed it up, which they always do because you gotta make space for Eddie. And here we go. They changed the time signature, and then Ed's doing his thing for like 8 bars, and it's just ridiculous. So, but yeah, the opening with the flange, and it's just like the song is so much fun, especially like right here. Take a look at this. Hey man, that suit is you. One break coming up. The song is ridiculous, but you have Eddie Van Halen playing guitar, so it's not quite as ridiculous. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about this. This song as a whole is one of their best works. But Eddie's input, I mean, hell, Eddie Van Halen's your guitar player, so what they do, it's always going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I read recently, and I saw it, whether it's true or not, I don't know, because you can never know what you read on the internet these days, if it's true or not, where
True.
they were sitting there saying that Alex Van Halen now has some plans to potentially put some stuff out that has been recorded in the past. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. It's uh, it's similar to Prince and the Vault. Apparently, there's a Van Halen Vault,
Yeah.
which is freaking crazy. But yeah, and I don't know who is managing all that. I hope it's not Alex, but um, yeah. I mean, I ha- I mean, how would you be Eddie Van Halen and not have just a stockpile of fish that you've recorded and not released?
It's there. I know. I would find it amazing because, I mean, you think about it, after 1998, when they did the album with Gary Sharon, after their last album with Eddie Van Halen, not with Eddie, with Sammy Hagar in
And
1995, from 1995 to 2020 when he passed away, they only came out with 2 full-length albums. It was Van Halen 3, and then I think it was 2012, A Different Kind of Truth was the year that those were the only 2 new albums that they put out in 25 years. Now they did have a greatest hits in 2004, and it had 3 new songs with Sammy Hagar, It's About Time, a couple of others on there, but like you just said, you've gotta think in that 25 years they were doing stuff. Maybe not just him, but him and Alex were together doing stuff. And then when Wolfie was playing with them, when he came in and joined in the mid 2005, 6, 7 time frame, he came in and I could just imagine the 3 of them just jamming. And there's just this music there that hopefully we'll be able to hear one day.
How your dad is Eddie Van Halen, and I've seen Wolfie twice, and I'm going to see him actually next month, but your dad's Eddie Van Halen. How do you not have stuff in the vault, right?
Yeah.
It's it makes no sense, but it's like Prince didn't have any kids, but God, and everything goes back to Prince, but he has so much crap in the vault, and I'm just like, "Dude, your dad's Eddie Van Halen. You have to have, like, just some stuff that's gotta be available." Because here's the thing, I think Ed, when they were producing stuff, I just in my head, I feel like they had a little more polish on it than Prince, maybe. At least I don't freaking know. But I do feel like there's a vault full of EVH stuff that we haven't heard yet. And here's what I think. I think Wolfie would do a better job of releasing this stuff because Prince's sisters are in charge of the vault and they suck at it. So I will say I think Wolfie will have a better authority on what's coming out and what we're doing. So,
Yeah.
anyway, that's where I'll stop.
Yeah. Because there's like I said, there's gotta be the vault. I mean, there's all those years of no new music coming out. And when you're a musician like that, there's just creativity probably pouring into your mind, and that he's just always fiddling with stuff, probably doing those types of things. So hopefully we'll be able to hear some of that in the near future and be able to be able to hear what hasn't been released. And maybe one day, I doubt it'll ever happen, but maybe one day, because again, 5 years ago, this time 5 years ago, there was we were in the heights of COVID, concerts were shut down, everything like that. Maybe one day people will, within the Van Halen camp, will be able to get together, get their act together, and just do a memorable tribute to Eddie Van Halen. You're shaking your head. I mean, I doubt if it's been 5 years, I don't think we'll see it, but it's a shame we never did see it because I think it just would have we did see it once when Wolfie did play a couple of Van Halen songs, but that's really all we've ever seen. And then that was part of the Best of Both Worlds tour last year where, like, we've got nobody's keeping this music alive. We've got to keep this music going, and that's why part of why they did the tour that they did last year, but it would just be incredible for them to do some kind of tribute.
When I was going through when I was going through part of this today, it's like, how we not celebrated one of the greatest guitar players of all time, and it really made me sad. Kinda makes me angry. Sorry. But yeah, but part of it makes me mad. I'm just like, you got this guy with all this material and he freaking changed. I'm looking at Nuno. Where did Nuno get his influence from? Where did Michael Sweet get his influence from? And we're not gonna pay any respect to this guy?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, but it's just like, it doesn't make any sense that nothing and and God bless Ozzy Osbourne. We put all this stuff and did all these things for him, but we haven't done jack for Eddie Van Halen.
No, we haven't.
And that's it's crap, dude. I don't know who runs the rock world or just it just doesn't make any sense to me that we have not done anything, and I'm not sure if it's just because I know the Van Halen camp is pretty locked down, and they do their thing, but god, you have people that would love to pay respects to EVH, and I'm not sure why that hasn't really happened yet, and it's makes me sad, and it's makes me mad at the same time.
You were talking, it's just like we talked about tonight, Michael Sweet getting his influence and others. I mean, here's just a list of musicians that just said that they've gotten over the years their influence from this guitarist. Corey Taylor of Slipknot, uh, Slash, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Malmsteen. I don't know
Well,
if I
Steve
said
Vai got I mean,
Steve Vai went and played in a band with David Lee Roth after he left Van Halen because he needed to have somebody like that in his camp to,
he was trying to replace EVH after
yeah.
Van Halen broke up.
And even George Lynch credits Van Halen with influencing their playing. So, like you said, a lot of the guitarists that we've heard over the years after 1978, they're influenced by this guy. And so, for there not to be some kind of tribute concert since he passed, it's a shame. It just
Well, it kinda pisses me off because the whole Black Sabbath thing, it was I mean, god, it was so much fun, and it was 11 hours of tribute to Black Sabbath and Ozzy, and we talked about this at length, but I'm just like, you have one of the greatest American guitar players at your feet, and you've done nothing. So I don't know. I could talk for another hour about this, but it's cool. I just feel like there's nothing has been done for Eddie Van Halen, which is it's kind of mind-boggling. And so I just don't understand why we c- you can't
you can't
put
get
up a
it can't get together and get it done.
I mean,
So I
I
gotta
just don't
so I gotta applaud Hagar for what he's been doing the past year. He's not, I mean, he sings a couple of the David Lee Roth songs, but
yeah.
he's trying to do what he can. And just that whole song Encore, that is just I just think just the sound on that, I'm just like, Satriani really got the sound of Eddie Van Halen on that particular song.
Yeah. Well, that whole show was like when we were talking about going to that because we made the decision last minute. So
Yeah, I remember. We were just like, yeah, we're doing it. We're going.
we went, and it's like, well, is he gonna sound like Ed? And that was my whole thing. It's like, is he gonna sound like Ed? And he did a great job. I mean, and Sammy, that freaking God Almighty, dude,
He's 78 this year. 78.
give me a break. He, yeah, he did a I mean, the band in general did just a phenomenal job. But it is kind of up that there's not been a proper EVH tribute somehow, somewhere, whether it be in, Cleveland or whatever, but it I'm just not I think I just don't understand why it hasn't happened yet,
Yeah.
and that makes me
Well,
kinda sad.
because I mean, what I read, and part of me could understand this, is Alex didn't want to play if his brother wasn't there because he'd been playing with his brother forever.
I knew
And
part
that
of
would,
it was Alex. Yeah.
but I don't see why some camp or somebody could just say, "Hey, listen, I'm not playing, but let's do this for my brother." Yeah, I just don't understand that, but maybe
Well, it's weird Wolfgang hasn't, like, spearheaded anything as well.
you
I
know,
mean,
part of me's not surprised in one sense because I think he is, and this is just me talking. I don't know this for sure, but if he plays his dad's songs, would people sit there and try to always they shouldn't, but be like, "Oh, he's not Eddie. He's not Eddie. He's not Eddie."
have you
And
heard him have you heard him
yes,
play Van Halen?
I have. I have.
He's, like, this far away.
I know. I know. And I think he probably just wants to make a name for himself and with Mammoth, and like I said, I could be wrong on that, but
No, you're absolutely right. He said that multiple times. He's like, I don't wanna be my dad." And Mammoth is I've seen them twice already, and Wolfie is a phenomenal performer, but he's sure not trying to be his dad.
no.
Too. It's like, if dude, go out if and maybe maybe it's just me wanting more, but I would dig if Wolfie went out. Hell, he played, what was it? His Hoffer teacher. He can play his dad's stuff.
Yeah, he
So
absolutely can.
so it's like, it'd be cool if they organized something that was a tribute to Ed or whatever. I don't know. It's it's probably me just wanting more as a fan.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that, and like I said, fortunately, we were able to see what we did last year because I'm glad we went now. I'm glad we went now because now even Sammy's at a point where he's just like 78 years old. I don't know if I can tour like I did last year, like meaning
God,
go out
yeah.
up on the stage every night for 3 months solid, jump up and down, sing. That's why he's loving the residency that they're doing in Vegas. And because he's like,
Oh
I can
god,
stay in
yes.
one spot. I'm staying in one hotel, wherever he's staying, I'm staying in one place. And so it makes it a little bit easier for the guy who is almost 80 years old doing this still.
I can't believe he's almost 80 years old. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I would dig it if Wolfgang would do something to press forward the legacy of his dad. I know he's doing everything he can to not be his dad, and he's doing a great job of it because the couple times I've seen him, his songwriting it's very original, and we're going to see him and Miles Kennedy next month, and just I know it's going to be great.
Yeah. Cause we saw him. We didn't go to Creed together because you went with your wife and I went with my sons and my daughter in law. Gosh, was that last? Yeah, it was last year, and
Oh, shit.
we saw him open up for Creed, and I that was the first time I saw him, and I was like, I mean, I already knew he was a great musician, but I was like watching him live. I thought he was great. So if you get the chance, go see him. But man, we're almost 2 hours in talking about Van Halen, and we still have our top Stryper solos to go. We might need to make this a 3 hour show here, man.
My yes.
No, what we're gonna do is we said at the beginning of the show that we were gonna do top 5 Eddie and then top 5 Stryper, but we're gonna make this a part 2. And so next week, we're gonna based on what we were gonna share today and the influence of Eddie that had on Michael Sweet and the band Stryper. We're going to save our top 5 Stryper solos for next week's show. And because I don't want to rush through them, I want to take the time to do it. But I'm glad we did what we did today because I know when we originally talked about this, we said, yeah, do, we can probably talk through the Eddie stuff within 30 minutes and found out we can't.
Oh my gosh, that was so stupid. I was like, yeah, I sent Tim a text like, "Hey, we could do 30 minutes on Eddie, right?" It's like, "Oh, well, here we are."
Here we are 2 hours later. But no,
And
this
I gotta
is,
and I gotta get on a plane in 6 hours.
yes. And so, but this has been, I've enjoyed having this conversation tonight and being able to walk through and just talk about the music of one of the greatest, if not, in my opinion, the greatest guitar player to ever play. And the influence that he's had, just being able to go back and actually get the algorithms on Spotify a little bit different this week, listening to, Van Halen versus listening to Stryper all the time. So that was a little bit of fun too. I enjoy because I mean Van Halen is also one of my other favorite bands of all time,
Of
and
course.
being able to sit back and talk about them in the way that we did tonight, and just remember Eddie Van Halen the way that we did. I've enjoyed it, and again, coming up October 6th, it's been 5 years since his passing, so we wanted, and like I said in the beginning, we
Mm.
wanted to have this conversation tonight because of the fact of how influential he was on the band that our podcast is on. We wanted, and how influential he was on, or it was on Stryper. We wanted to be able to pay tribute to that music tonight because there were certain things that I loved first with Van Halen that made me love the things about what Stryper did and a lot of the other bands that I liked in that era of time.
Well, excuse me. I mean, if you so say let's do a little historical rundown. So Van Halen won 78, 79, and then look at all of the other bands in the 80s that were influenced by Ed. Just all of them, pretty much. S
Yeah,
so it's like, you don't have a dude that basically influences genre of music like Ed did, so I'm just like, yeah, it's and as I say, as I was sorry, as I was going through some of this stuff, I was like, "Damn, dude." I was trying to remember a I was trying to remember one musician that influenced a genre, and but I don't know a jack about jazz or, you know, classical or any of that kinda stuff. I do know about rock, but I'm just saying I don't know of an artist that got in here and influenced just everybody. I mean,
yeah,
if we're talking about Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan or somebody like that, but Ed's definitely on the list. So, I don't know. I I I literally was trying to think about that, and it was just like, no, I think we're at the point where he influenced everybody that was successful and I hate using the hair metal, but that that era of rock
yeah,
and roll.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And without him, we may not have had that era of music in the 80s that we enjoyed so much. Or the sound or the style would have been possibly completely different than what
yeah.
we know today. But
Yeah, I think between
it,
I think between him and Randy Rhoads, I think those are the 2.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm just looking. Yeah, I'm just looking through here. That's amazing. That that amazes me. I'm sitting here looking at
I
Van
know.
Halen 1. Well, it hit number it wa the highest it charted on on the US charts was 19,
I'm surprised it was that high. On
and
so 19 on the Billboard, like, regular charts?
yeah,
That's
that's pretty good though for a first rock album though.
I'm surprised it was that high. Because yeah,
But
that
listen to this. Listen to this. That
right.
album was diamond. Van Halen 2 is 5 times platinum. Women and Children 3 times platinum. Fair Warning 2 times. Diver Down 4 times. 84 diamond. 5150 6 times platinum. 1 2 4 times platinum. For Unlawful 3 times. Balance 3 times. Van Halen 3 gold. Different Kind of Truth gold.
Balance was 3 times? That's interesting. Huh.
Yep, it hit number 1. Every single Sammy album hit number 1
At number 1. Yeah.
in the US,
Which
but still,
makes no sense because there were some really bad records.
there are sometimes I can listen to those are moments when I go, "Oh gosh, the lyrics aren't great, but it's Eddie playing," and I enjoy listening to Eddie play.
Well, that's always the freaking thing. It's like, alright, your song might suck, but Eddie's playing guitar.
Yeah,
So, I mean, yeah, I agree with that. It's just yeah, there were there were some bad Van Halen records, but yeah, you still have Eddie Van Halen as your guitar player, so
and out of all the songs they put out, they only had 1 song that went to number 1 on the US chart. Can you guess it?
right here, right now?
Right Here, Right Now. Wow. US Main, Right Here, Right Now was at number 2, but on the US chart, it says 55.
Okay, so what's your read?
Jump.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah. Number 1. Hot for Teacher was only 56.
Yeah, yeah, I remember yeah, because yeah, Jump was a freaking it was a yeah, that was a giant.
Yeah, mainstream rock. That's what the other one was. When I said US Main, that was mainstream rock.
Gotcha.
So a lot of those songs hit much higher than what they did on the normal charts, on the rock chart,
Yeah, well, yeah, it woulda had to have been something off in 1984, so alright.
but here we go.
Alright, dude.
Next week, tune in. We're going to do part 2 of this show. We're going to run through our top 5 Stryper solos and talk about those. But again, having this conversation tonight, and don't forget, wherever you're listening to us from, whether it be YouTube, Apple, Spotify, I'm loading things on Rumble now. You can find us. You can find us there. Like and subscribe. Make comments. Let us know what you think. If you want to hear us talk about something specific, let us know as well, and we can put that together. But we just thank you for listening. And don't forget to like us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok is where we are located at. So, but again, thank you. I enjoyed this tonight. It was fun going back and talking about one of my other favorite bands tonight and how influential they were on my other favorite band.
Yes. This was fun talking about Van Halen, so yeah. Like and subscribe. Love you guys, and we will speak to y'all soon. Love it.